Have you ever heard the name Braun Strowman? A name that alone carries weight in the world of WWE, and one that defines the figure we are talking about today. Inside the ring, Braun Strowman stood as a symbol of raw power, a disruptor of order, and a counterweight to technical stars. Yet today, his life unfolds very differently in North Carolina, where a quiet country home sits under soft sunlight, green grass stretching out, and days moving at a slower pace without the need for cheers or noise. And if you want to understand how WWE power exists within a calm, grounded life, it begins here, at his home. Before stepping deeper into this quiet life, we need to look back at the path that brought him here. It was a long career, shaped by decisions made year after year, gradually forming the financial foundation he now stands on. That journey began in Sherrills Ford, North Carolina, where Braun Strowman was born as Adam Joseph Scher in 1983. He did not grow up surrounded by comfort, nor with a future clearly laid out. His childhood unfolded across small towns in Arkansas and Tennessee, marked by constant moves and an ordinary family rhythm. He was not an exceptional student, nor a natural prodigy in sports. What truly defined his early years was physical change. By the time he reached high school, his body began to grow rapidly, almost faster than he could understand. And it was sport that became the one structure that helped him regain direction and stability. After graduating in 2001, Scher did not move straight into college or a clear career path. His early 20s were scattered. He worked as a mechanic, stood security at bars in Charlotte, and relied on his size simply to get by. Money at that stage meant survival, not growth. There were no savings, no long-term plans, only short-term stability earned through physical labor. A failed attempt to enter professional football in 2007 forced a reckoning. Strength alone was not enough unless it found the right arena. That arena emerged through strongman competition. Encouraged by local athletes, Scher shifted his focus in the late 2000s. From 2009 to 2011, his rise was unusually fast. Within 2 years, he became a professional strongman, winning major amateur titles and gaining modest but steady income for the first time in his life. The money was not large, but it was consistent. More importantly, strongman gave his strength context, visibility, and purpose. It also placed him directly in the path of WWE. In 2013, Scher signed a developmental contract with WWE and entered the Performance Center. The early years were disciplined and financially restrained. Competing in NXT, his income hovered between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. His net worth remained modest, built slowly from salary and savings rather than spectacle. Wrestling, unlike strongman, demanded patience, control, and repetition. For 2 years, he learned the craft from the ground up. Everything changed in 2015 when he debuted on WWE's main roster as Braun Strowman, aligned with the Wyatt family. The exposure was immediate. His annual income rose into the $200,000 range, boosted by merchandise and television appearances. By 2016, as he transitioned into a solo role, the character of the monster among men took shape. With that identity came higher guarantees, performance bonuses, and a growing presence at major events. His earnings climbed toward $500,000 annually, and for the first time, his finances began to resemble a career rather than a paycheck. Between 2017 and 2018, Strowman entered his most aggressive growth phase. High-profile feuds, headline matches, and victories like the Money in the Bank ladder match elevated his standing. His income surged toward $1 million per year, driven by merchandise sales and pay-per-view bonuses. Net worth crossed the $1 million mark, reflecting not just earnings, but accumulation. These were the years when physical dominance translated directly into financial leverage. In 2019, he signed a larger contract with WWE, reportedly guaranteeing around $1.2 million annually. Even as the global pandemic disrupted live events in 2020, Strowman's value remained intact. Winning the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 36 preserved both visibility and income. By the end of that year, his net worth approached $2.5 million, built through consistency rather than excess. His release from WWE in 2021 abruptly slowed the momentum. Income dropped, limited to independent appearances and short-term bookings. The year closed with earnings well below previous peaks, and his net worth plateaued. Yet the break created space. When Strowman returned to WWE in late 2022 under a new contract, he did so with recalibrated expectations. The role was stable, the schedule lighter, and the income sufficient without chasing another peak. From 2023 through 2024, his earnings stabilized between $1.5 and $1.8 million annually. At the same time, he began diversifying. The cooking show Everything on the Menu on USA Network introduced a new revenue stream that relied on personality rather than punishment. By 2025, as his WWE contract concluded amicably, television and appearances supplemented his income, allowing him to step away without financial pressure. By 2026, Braun Strowman was no longer a full-time competitor. His income shifted to media projects, independent appearances, and selective engagements, generating an estimated $500,000 to $800,000 per year. With more than a decade in professional wrestling and a deliberate transition into entertainment, his financial arc had settled, placing his estimated net worth at approximately $5 million. That financial stability did not arrive by accident. He earned it through years of turning physical dominance into structure, discipline, and long-term control over his own career. And it is from that place of control we now step into his home in North Carolina, where strength gives way to a quieter daily rhythm. Home in North Carolina. Not far from the baseball field where Braun Strowman now spends his training days, his North Carolina home rests quietly along the edge of Lake Norman. The setting is unmistakably rural. The house sits within a calm cove, naturally shielded from movement on the wider lake, creating a feeling of separation without isolation. This is where Braun chose to settle after stepping away from full-time WWE competition, not as a retreat, but as a reset. The property blends into its surroundings rather than standing apart from them. Trees frame the house, and the water remains visible but never overwhelming. From the back of the home, the land slopes gently downward, guiding the eye toward the lake. A stone path runs through the fully fenced backyard, leading directly to a private dock just a short distance from the water's edge. The transition feels natural, almost automatic, as if the lake were meant to be part of daily movement rather than a destination. Life here unfolds around that connection. A pontoon boat rests near the dock, used not for spectacle but for slow afternoons on the water. Kayaks sit close to shore, ready for quieter moments. As the day cools, attention shifts toward the lakeside fire pit, where friends gather without planning and conversations stretch longer than expected. The setting encourages people to stay, to linger, and to let time loosen its grip. The porches quietly shape Braun's daily routine. Covered front and back, they are spaces he actually uses. Mornings often start there with coffee and a view of the water, and evenings end in the same place as the light fades. Nothing is arranged or performed. It is simply how Braun lives in this house now. Inside, the home balances comfort with flexibility. The main level includes a bedroom and a full bathroom, allowing daily life to remain simple and accessible. It is a practical layout, well-suited for hosting friends or settling into quieter routines without unnecessary movement through the house. Nothing feels excessive and nothing feels constrained. The lower level opens directly to the outside, turning the walkout basement into an extension of daily life rather than a separate space. The large room is used as both a bedroom and a game area, shifting function as needed. It mirrors how Braun lives now, flexible, adaptable, and no longer tied to fixed roles or definitions. For Braun Strowman, this Lake Norman home is not about achievement or display. It does not announce success or preserve an image. Instead, it supports balance, recovery, and presence. Strength still lives here, but it no longer dominates the space. The house slows that energy down and gives Braun room to settle into a quieter rhythm. This lakeside home speaks to where Braun is now. Florida, by contrast, tells the story of where he was and how that chapter still lingers in his life. House in Florida. Braun Strowman's Florida home belongs to a very specific moment in his life. It was acquired during the height of his WWE run, when travel was constant, training was non-negotiable, and physical demand shaped every decision. Positioned near the WWE Performance Center and set along the calm shoreline of Lake Avalon, the house reflects that period clearly, structured, capable, and built to support intensity without distraction. From the outside, the property reads as controlled rather than showy. Spread across nearly 1.5 acres of fully fenced land, the single-story structure sits low and wide, prioritizing space and privacy over vertical drama. The lake remains present but not overwhelming, visible beyond the trees and open yard, grounding the house in stillness rather than spectacle. Inside, the layout opens immediately. Natural light moves freely across premium vinyl floors that run uninterrupted through the main living areas. The design favors openness, but not emptiness. Each space connects logically to the next, creating a flow that feels deliberate and functional, consistent with how Braun Strowman lived during his most demanding professional years. The kitchen anchors the home. A large quartz waterfall island sits at its center, substantial in scale but clean in execution. Gold-toned hardware and matte white appliances add warmth without excess. This is a kitchen designed to be active. Meals prepared quickly, conversations held standing, days moving forward without pause. From here, sight lines extend toward the dining area and living room, where a wood-burning fireplace adds weight and balance to the open plan. The living space looks outward. Large windows frame the backyard and distant lake, allowing the exterior to enter the daily rhythm of the house. Even during rest, the environment remains expansive, reinforcing a sense of control rather than retreat. The primary bedroom functions as a private reset. It opens directly onto the rear patio, offering immediate access to outdoor air and quiet. Inside, 2 walk-in closets support structure and order, while the bathroom introduces a different tone, calm, restorative, and intentionally slow. A soaking tub, tiled walk-in shower, and dual sinks create space not for display, but recovery. The remaining bedrooms follow a similar logic. Each has its own ensuite bathroom, finished with modern fixtures and clean tile work. These rooms are prepared for guests, teammates, or temporary stays, flexible, self-contained, and easy to live in. Outside, the property expands again. Mature trees provide natural cover, while the open yard leads toward a private dock along Lake Avalon. A fire pit sits nearby, positioned for long evenings rather than planned events. This is where days end without ceremony and conversations stretch longer than expected. This Florida residence does not reinterpret Braun Strowman's public persona. It supports it. Built to match a life of constant physical demand and tight schedules, the house reflects a period lived at full capacity. Even as his career rhythm has shifted, it remains a quiet marker of that chapter, designed to carry weight, not display it. Away from the house, Braun's choices continue on the road, reflected in the vehicles he chooses to drive today. Car collection. Given the sheer size of Braun Strowman, many people naturally assume his garage would be filled with oversized, aggressive vehicles. But by 2026, the cars he chooses tell a very different story. The first car that opens this collection is the Smart 42. Small enough that when Braun stands beside it, the car almost disappears against his frame. It feels deliberately understated. This model, produced around 2012, was purchased during the early stage of his WWE career, shortly after he left NXT and began adjusting to an entirely new rhythm of life. Braun used it regularly for short trips and personal errands, moments that did not require attention or spectacle. With 2 seats, a compact engine, simple color options, and a current value of approximately $10,000, the Smart for 2 feels grounded and practical. It does not exist to contrast his size, but to serve the everyday movement of his life. From that sense of compact simplicity, the story moves naturally to the Toyota Camry. This familiar sedan became associated with backstage moments alongside Alexa Bliss during the Monster and Goddess segment of WWE's Mixed Match Challenge. The Camry is not a car meant to stand out on camera. Instead, it supports everything that happens behind it. Its comfortable interior, stable handling, and familiar driving feel make it well-suited for long work days and extended schedules. With a current market value of around $22,000, the Camry represents balance in Braun's daily life, where movement needs to be steady, reliable, and quietly efficient. Only after these practical choices does the Ford F-150 Raptor enter the picture. This is the largest vehicle in Braun's garage, purchased in May 2020 from Mullinax Ford. It is the vehicle Braun chooses when he wants a sense of space and scale that matches his physical presence. Tall, wide, and solid, it offers an open-road feeling suited for longer drives and moments when he wants to feel fully aligned with his size and strength. With a current value of approximately $75,000, the Raptor does not define habit, but rather the occasions when Braun chooses to lean into his physicality and energy. Braun Strowman's cars do not describe excess or performance. They trace a quieter logic: how he moves when no one is watching, how he balances size with restraint, and how daily life, more than spectacle, now shapes his choices. Beyond how he moves through daily life, what comes into focus next is how Braun chooses to give, through a series of deliberate and consistent philanthropic efforts. Philanthropy. According to figures we have compiled, beginning around 2018, Braun Strowman has consistently taken part in charitable activities, contributing both his time and personal funds. As of 2026, his total charitable giving is estimated at approximately $30,000, accumulated through years of steady and sustained involvement. One of the earliest moments that reflected this approach came in 2019, during the Polar Bear Plunge event. Braun jumped into icy water to raise funds for the Boys and Girls Club of Washington County. The initial goal was $2,000, but donations reached nearly $1,400 within the first 12 hours and exceeded $2,500 by the end, with some sources recording more than $3,000. All funds were directed to local youth education and sports programs. During the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, Braun shifted to a more direct form of support, funding 1,000 meals for medical staff at Advent Health and Orlando Health. Based on average costs, the contribution was estimated at $3,000 to $5,000, confirmed as a personal donation. His largest documented contribution followed in 2021 at the Blizzard Brawl event in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Braun donated all proceeds from meet and greets and signings to the United for Waukesha Community Fund, raising approximately $9,000, with reports noting the final amount exceeded $10,000. Between 2022 and 2024, Braun continued giving in quieter ways, including about $1,000 toward hurricane relief in Florida, merchandise proceeds for the Boys and Girls Club, and participation in Make-A-Wish experiences. Entering 2025 to 2026, he maintained a similar pace through proceeds from Everything on the Menu, charity auctions, and fundraising events, and we have already reflected those amounts at the beginning of this section. For Braun Strowman, philanthropy is not a campaign, but a habit, quiet, consistent, and built to last beyond the spotlight. At this point, we step away from Braun's charitable work and turn back to the personal life he returns to beyond these efforts. Personal life. By 2026, Braun Strowman has entered a clear transition after stepping away from full-time WWE competition. Life now moves at a different pace. Fewer schedules, fewer arenas, and more personal routines, quietly captured in the moments he shares on Instagram. The size and strength remain, but they no longer define the center of his days. Cher has described himself as semi-retired from wrestling, not fully stepping away, but no longer living in constant competition. That pause has allowed him to explore a different rhythm of life. One clear example is Everything on the Menu, his food travel show on USA Network, which debuted in 2025 and was renewed for a second season by January 2026. Traveling across the country, he visits local restaurants, shares meals and conversations, revealing a warmer, more relaxed side far removed from the monster persona of the ring. Outside of television, he has also begun investing time in new ventures, including his tequila brand Quintaliza. Recently, he has developed a strong interest in baseball, often sharing moments at the batting cage, where, by his own joking admission, he rarely seems to miss a hit. That choice reflects where he is now, focused less on exposure and more on balance. There is weight behind that choice. 12 years earlier, Cher had experienced homelessness. WWE gave him a path forward, financial stability, and the chance to rebuild his life. Today, that gratitude shows not in speeches, but in how carefully he structures his present. Work, business, rest, training, and personal joy now sit in equilibrium. This chapter of Braun Strowman's life is not about proving strength anymore. It is about living with it, on his own terms. If this side of well-known wrestlers felt different from what you expected, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep watching to see what life looks like after the spotlight fades.